Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Today is January 29th, and this is going to be a short recording for today's social studies class. Sorry that I was not able to be here today to have the live learning session, but I hope that this recording will help you guys understand your social studies lesson for today. So today's social studies lesson, everyone, is all about Alexander the Great and the empire that he built. Okay, so we've been learning a lot about the Greeks, and you should have read about the Peloponnesian War, the war that broke out, especially between Athens and Sparta. I hope that you enjoyed those lessons and learning about the great battle that they went through. So after the Peloponnesian War, everyone, the Greek city-states were still in a period of conflict. So today we'll learn how a powerful army may have taken advantage of a situation or the situation that was occurring in Greece at that time. So Alexander the Great, everyone, was a leader. He led an army and formed a very vast empire. Okay, so up on the board I have our timeline. About 338 BC, King Philip II defeats the Greeks at the Battle of Chaeronea. So King Philip II is actually Alexander's father. In 336, after King Philip dies, Alexander becomes the king of Macedonia, and in 323 BC, Alexander the Great died. Okay, so in the warm-up it says, "Lucky you, your parents have sent you to study in the city of Alexandria, Egypt in 300 BC. Before school, you explore the harbor where ships unload goods from all over the Mediterranean. Then you visit Alexandria's lively marketplace. Ships bring goods here from as far away as India. You see many fascinating items to buy at the marketplace. At the famous museum school where you study, scholars ask you questions that seem impossible to answer. How far away are the sun and the moon? How big and wide is the earth? Then they show you how to use mathematics to answer such questions. Alexandria is an amazing city." Okay, everyone, so continuing on with that, I want to show you a very famous place. This is the lighthouse in Alexandria. Okay, it's also known as the Pharos of Alexandria. It was used to guide ships into the busy harbor in Alexandria. It was actually the first lighthouse in the world, and it was built by one of Egypt's last pharaohs. Okay, it has since been badly damaged by earthquakes, but it is regarded as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And just so you guys know, in Minecraft, you may have seen this before. This was the lighthouse that has been recreated by a Minecraft user. So I found this and thought you would find it interesting. Okay, Alexandria was a place of learning. You know, obviously a very busy place because ships needed to come into the busy harbor. If you were lucky enough as a young person, you got to study in the city of Alexandria, Egypt. So it must have been really fascinating for these people, you know, who lived during this time to see. All right, so our objectives are to describe the events that led to the rise of Alexander the Great's empire and explain how Greek culture spread during and after Alexander's rule. We'll see that Alexander and his father both loved Greek culture, and their mission was to spread it all over the world. Okay, so just a little summary of Alexander the Great. He served as the king of Macedonia from 336 to 323 BC. During his time of leadership, he united Greece, reestablished something called the Corinthian League, and the Corinthian League was created by his father. It was just basically a bunch of Greek city-states that were allies. Okay, and he also conquered the Persian Empire. So before we get started learning a little bit more about them, let's take a look at the empire of Alexander the Great. So we can see that Alexander had conquest pretty much all over. So you can take a look at the key down here. We can see Alexander's route, okay, by the arrows. And some of the major battles are highlighted with these stars, okay. In your ebook, you learn a lot about Macedonia, okay. It's up here. Okay, so here's Greece, here's Athens right here. Macedonia is right a little bit north. Okay, so you can see the conquest all the way through Asia Minor. We're going to learn about the Persian Empire. okay, all the way through Asia, Egypt. Okay, there's Alexandria right here. Okay, we'll see how Alexandria actually replaced Athens as the center of culture and learning. All right, so all of the green is Alexander's empire. So he was a boss, everybody. He was certainly a boss. Okay, all right, so after the Peloponnesian War, everyone, the Greek city-states continued to fight. Macedonia, Philip II brought his own people together under his rule. So he had the same idea to do this to the Greek lands. Really important to note is that he was a really strong king, and he loved everything Greek, okay? He received a Greek education, studied Greece, studied battles. He had a great love for knowledge, anything about Greek culture. As a boy, he received a Greek education, and he basically used what he knew about the Greeks to beat them in battle. So in 338 BC, Philip's army fought the Greeks in a battle called the Battle of Chaeronea. And his son, Alexander, led part of the attack. Okay, the Macedonians were victorious, and King Philip then claimed all of the Greek city-states. He wanted to unite the city-states, so after conquering them, this is kind of interesting, he wanted to unite them and formed the League of Corinth. And again, this was just an alliance of some of the Greek city-states together. They had to agree to support him and not fight any other member in order to be involved in the League. Okay, shouldn't come as any shock, but everybody joined except Sparta. Okay, he then set out after to conquer the Persian Empire, but unfortunately he died before that could happen. So Alexander did take over. He was, some sources say 18 years old, some sources say 20 years old. He actually, at 18 years old, led part of the attack on the Greeks. So somewhere between 18 and 20, he took over. Okay, so over here is a very interesting picture that I wanted to bring up. In your ebook, there's the picture, and you can see Alexander here, and it looks like he's about to cut something. So there was a legend that King Philip's son, Alexander, cut something called the Gordian knot, which is a legend that whoever basically was able to make the knot become undone would be the future conqueror and king of Asia. And it is said that Alexander was able to, according to legend, cut the knot. Okay, kind of reminds me of that story of King Arthur and the sword and the stone, where he's able to get the sword out. Okay, it's the same kind of type legend. All right, so really quickly, Alexander's conquests. Alexander was actually taught by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. King Philip hired Aristotle to teach him science and philosophy. Philip taught Alexander also how to wage war. Okay, legend has it that Alexander actually slept with a dagger and a copy of Homer's Iliad under his pillow. So he was well versed, and he had a good education, but he also studied a lot about how to wage war. Alexander set out to rule Persia, but didn't stop there. He wanted to rule the entire world, everybody. He had big goals. Big goals. Okay, so Alexander, as we saw on the map earlier, blazed through Asia Minor, across Egypt, and into Mesopotamia. Okay, in 330 BC, Alexander and his army took over the Persian Empire and marched right into India. They defeated an Indian army that had more than 200 war elephants. And you can see a really great picture on page 347 in your ebook, but they were actually riding elephants. So instead of horses, elephants were used in battle at this time. So interesting thing, I just want to stop on Egypt. So it's kind of funny, because you would think that, a country being conquered wouldn't be a good thing. But when Alexander actually arrived in Egypt, the Egyptians were under Persian control. So when Alexander arrived, the Egyptians actually greeted him quite warmly, and they crowned him their pharaoh because they no longer wanted to be under Persian rule. So there was like a benefit to Alexander coming in and, conquering the Persian Empire. The Egyptians welcomed it. But Alexander's main goal, and his father's, of course, was to spread Greek culture and the language to all places and cultures that he conquered. Okay, so from Greece to India, everybody, Alexander was able to go in, conquer, and spread this Greek culture. Alexander even adopted some of the places that he conquered's customs and did allow some degree of self-rule. So it wasn't like he was, a tyrant or a cruel ruler. In some instances, he was quite fair. Okay, so Alexander didn't want to stop. He wanted to continue through India and, pretty much take over the entire world. The problem is that his soldiers refused to go on. They followed him for 8 years and 11,000 miles. So it wasn't like they had, trains and cars to take them around. I mean, they were pretty exhausted. Okay, Alexander reached Babylon in 323 BC, and he unfortunately got ill and he died. Nobody was able to hold the empire together, so the empire ended up splitting into separate kingdoms. Okay, now we refer to the age, everybody, as the Hellenistic age, because this was a period where Greek culture continued to spread. Okay, so the Hellenistic age, or Greek-like age, was this period where, Alexander conquered a lot of different places, right? And he spread all of the language, the culture, architecture. Everything was pretty much spread. So this period in history, everybody, by historians, is referred to as the Hellenistic age, or the Greek-like age. Okay, and of course they had a lot of beautiful things to share. All right, so one last thing. Alexandria. Alexander named Alexandria after himself. Okay, how vain of him. This was a great location, as I said in the beginning, with the lighthouse. It was a port, so it was a great center for trading. It grew into a multicultural city where Egyptians, Greeks, Arabs, Jews met. They exchanged ideas. They created new ones. It was really like a center of culture and learning. Something to be said about all of these people meeting and exchanging ideas. I would have loved to live during this time, to be able to see some of the things that they learned and peacefully exchanged. Okay, some very famous people that you're going to learn about. Euclid, of course, he's a mathematician. He summarized all of the mathematical knowledge of this time in 13 books. Aristophanes invented and drew up methods in math. A world map, was able to locate hundreds of stars. And of course, Hypatia, she wrote books on math and astronomy and invented tools for measuring the properties of water. And you're actually going to learn a little bit more about her coming up next week. All right, so this is kind of an overview of today's reading assignment. I would like you to please read pages 345 and go all the way to page 350. There's some really great visuals. You'll learn a little bit more about Alexandria. And next time, you're going to learn more about Hypatia. So ladies, she was a really great mathematician and astronomer at that time. Okay, so for the rest of the day, guys, 9.8, day 3, you're learning about the real Vikings. There's a response to literature due today. Okay, so you need to use text evidence in your response to literature. This is text-based analysis, everybody. We're really going to start learning how we format our text-based analysis responses into what we like to call essay format. We're going to work on that more next week during our mandatory Tuesday afternoon session. Okay, in math, you're learning about percents, decimals, and fractions, and there is a practice page due. I forgot to write that here. So make sure you submit your 9.7 decimals, fractions practice page. In science, you should be working on your tsunami project. I cannot wait to see them. Remember, they're due on Monday. And in social studies, just that short reading, okay, that you have to complete based on what we learned today. Okay, the CDT, everybody, in math and reading will be completed next week. You'll see that on your calendars. All right, and it will be February when I see you guys again on Monday. So I had to throw some hearts in here for you guys. All right. Have a fabulous weekend, everyone, and I will see you all on Monday. Bye.